have Rooster out bringing back some cargo for us. Go meet his plane at Sandy Shores and help him with the delivery.
Here's why. Article 1, abuse of power. Chief Judge Boasberg, in violation of his oath of office, did knowingly and willfully use his judicial position to knowingly interfere with President Trump's constitutional prerogatives and enforcement of the rule of law. And he did it for political gain. Now, the Constitution, writes Biggs, grants Congress the authority to create, eliminate, regulate all federal courts that are inferior to the Supreme Court. Section 1 of Article 3 of the Constitution says the judges, both the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior. In that specific sentence, does it grant Congress the authority to remove a judge who fails to remain in good behavior while in office, a different standard than impeachment. The Constitution grants the president broad and expansive powers over foreign policy and to ensure national security, and the Supreme Court has even ruled that the power to conduct foreign affairs is a political power. It's a political power, which is largely beyond the scope of judicial inquiry or decision. But you have to do this and this and this because the statutes make. These are judgment calls. They're political calls. The courts can't substitute their judgment for that, or otherwise they're acting as the president. Now, as such, outside questions of constitutionality is the law of the Constitution or not what Trump did. The Constitution placed foreign policy decisions by the president and Congress beyond the scope of review. You can't review that. The people review that. That's a ballot. In 1798, they let it in. Congress passed the Foreign Enemies Act, 1798, been on the books for a long time, which authorizes the president to make a public proclamation that designates members of a foreign nation or government liable for apprehension and removal as alien enemies of the United States. The act gives the president sole authority to determine the manner of the enemy aliens and removal and establish any regulations that are necessary to ensure public safety. And that's what Trump did. On March 15th, President Trump issued a proclamation declaring that all Venezuelan citizens who are members of the organization in which Tren de Aragua are liable to be apprehended and removed under the Alien Enemies Act due to the threat that the organization poses to the United States and its clear entanglement with the government of Venezuela. Furthermore, due to the severity of these gangs' crimes against the United States, Trump declared they are ineligible for the benefits of the act and are liable to immediate apprehension and removal. Pursuant to this declaration, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi took actions and started removing these people to the case. Now, despite the broad authority given by the Constitution to the president in conducting matters of foreign affairs and national security, the clear authority given to the president under the Constitutional Act, so we've got Article 2 of the Constitution, plus Congress and the Alien Enemies Act. We have two branches of government that have been overridden now by James E. Boasberg. He knowingly interfered with Trump's execution of foreign policy by ordering the return of members of the designated foreign territory to the United States. Justifying his action, Boasberg cited questions about the interpretation of certain words and phrases subjects, which are intimately tied to the president's foreign policy powers and beyond the scope of this court. And in doing so, Boasberg also extended beyond the bounds of power of his office and unjustly
Shit! Someone's after us! We gotta get down there!
In addition, James Boasberg has failed to disclose payments received from non-federal sources. And abused his discretion during his term on the FISA court. Where's that money coming from? What kind of money are you talking about there, Biggs? Accordingly, under the Good Behavior Clause, Section 1, Article 3, these actions of James Boasberg constitute misbehavior, render him liable for his removal from office. Saying, wherefore, James Boasberg, by his conduct, has failed to remain in good behavior, to be removed from office, and no longer be considered judge of the United States. Signed or sent in to Congress by Andy Biggs from Arizona, saying, failed to disclose payments received from non-federal sources. That feels very scandalous. I'll have to see exactly what payments Andy Biggs is talking about. But he posted this on his ex, and he said, Congress must put a stop to rogue judges attempting to legislate for the entire nation. And we cannot stand by while activist judges who incorrectly believe they've got more authority than the president. And so I sponsor this resolution to impeach Judge Boasberg. His removal from office via impeachment however, will undoubtedly be blocked by Democrats in the Senate, since it requires a 2/3 majority. My resolution, on the other hand, asserts, pursuant to Article 3, Section 1, that no judge may be removed, the same way we confirm that with a simple majority. Judge Mosberg abused his judicial authority for political gain and is not in compliance with the constitutional good behavior clause. He must not be permitted to remain in his position. Congress has a duty to fulfill the promises he made to the American people, including defending the president's authority to enforce our laws. From Andy Biggs and Omega Hatchet, and shout out to Bob Self-Defense, saying, I've been screaming about this message for weeks, and I can trust you. So, interesting developments there. We'll see what Congress does with it. Meanwhile, Chuck Grassley has been talking about this in the House as well. Here was a report from Fox News explaining.
Activist judges who oppose President Trump or exceed their jurisdiction. This week, both the House and the Senate are looking at ways to mitigate that trend. We've seen a lot. CNN Congressional Correspondent Chad Program shows us how tonight. Republicans raging.
These judges, are exceeding their powers beyond belief.
GOP accusing judges of stretching their jurisdiction, issuing nationwide injunctions.
Yes, they have their constitutional powers, but not superior to the President of the United States nor the Congress.
House and Senate Republicans writing bills to limit the reach of these rulings.
Universal injunctions have become a favorite tool of those seeking to obscure President Trump's agenda.
I don't think it's going to send a message to these little judges. Democrats call this bullying.
Part of this sector is completely legitimate. Whatever judge it is, you don't go our way, we're going to get you one way or the other.
Protesting outside Kavanaugh's house, where we was outside the Supreme Court. There's no for that one, you think? Well, here's Mark Wayne Moment in the Senate. He's saying something about this today. Last time I checked, the Constitution doesn't give district court judges. Here's Mark Wayne.
You find the cargo? Great. Now just lose the cops and get it back here.
Some agreement between the court and the president on what to do, especially when it comes to illegal aliens and the crime system. I think the American people spoke very loud that they wanted law and order back on the street. And so when the president tries to deport a plane full of illegal aliens that are gang members to El Salvador, you would think the judge would support that, right? You would think that considering he's a judge, he put the bad guys away, that we want to get these illegals that are bad guys out of it. But the hatred towards President Trump even has the courts not being truthful with the American people. They simply hate everything that the president is doing. Let me talk to you about real numbers. For my liberal friends that are watching this, hard to get this. Underneath the Obama administration in 8 years, the court only put in 12 injunctions. On President Trump's first term, in 4 years, they put up 64 injunctions. Biden, who was completely independent, wasn't even running the country, which could arguably be the largest cover-up we've ever had in political history. The judges on the D.C. courts and the district courts around the country only put up 14 injunctions in 4 years. Now, the president has been sworn in since January 20th. How many injunctions do you think the court's already installed? 15. You think there's some bias going on? Absolutely. That's why Speaker Johnson in the House and Leader Food in the Senate is leading the charge to start holding these courts accountable. They are there to interpret the law, the Constitution, not weigh in from the bench because of the political bias towards President Trump. It has gone too far. It's time for these courts, these judges, to be held accountable. Amazing left in the Senate and we put some pressure on John Boone and others to take some action. That would be good. But even Americans agree. Harry Hinton from CNN says, I would believe somebody was involved in that. A large minority are against the idea of judges being able to review Trump's policies. Let's listen to this like.
Sometimes there's just some poll numbers that just jump up off the screen and say, let's take a look here. All right, allow judges to review Trump's policies. Look at this. Overall, 77% say yes. There's 23% that say no. Among Republicans, it is a majority on 50%. What is this? 44% say no, judges do not have the right to review Trump's policies. That is an outstanding number. It's never gone on to see a lower precedent.
You asked a better question, you believe it. But okay, so Harry Hinton trying to understand what's happening out there with the town. But what's happening is Republicans and they're not elected. They're being sold by Democrats.
Can't believe you understand
Obama, Clinton, or Biden judges, all these white judges from 8 states. You're having the entire country. You have that 27 states saying, we don't find anything in our state. So let's get him out of here. We're excited to see where this goes. Hopefully other representatives go in on this. And if these judges want to fight and say, you can remove us based on civil majority, well, they can sue. They can go file a declaratory suit. And Judge Boasberg can sue and feel free to Judge Chuckin, and Judge Chuckin can say, I'm sorry for making my life Trump. And Chuckin can issue a TRO on Andy Biggs, and then Andy Biggs can church it. We're going to cover it all. Thanks for subscribing to Wayne.
Shut up. And about the cargo bag.
Please return this man. Please return this man and we'll process him correctly.
They've already acknowledged the administrative error. However, the Trump administration says the move was more than justified. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
If you just saw the headline from the insane failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention.
Now that was some first-class damage control. To be honest with you, I'm worried about how hard Rooster's gonna celebrate.
Okay, the networks are down, the equipment is ready, and we've crippled their supplies. Mrs. Rackman has written our check and given us the green light. We're good to finally move on that submarine and stop this threat once and for all. When you're ready, get your crew together and head back to planning.
He's an MS-13 gang member that does not belong in the U.S. Now, Kilmar Abrego Garcia illegally entered the country in 2011, Harris, was picked up in 2019 for removal proceedings.